Leaving a high-control religious system often leaves behind a specific, exhausting burden, a white-hot, hyper-vigilant anger toward the people who held the keys. Even when the rational mind recognizes the toxicity of the past, the nervous system remains stuck in a loop, triggering physical panic at the prospect of a normal, autonomous life. Survivors often misinterpret this involuntary anxiety as divine conviction, a signal from the Holy Spirit that they are broken or sliding toward a moral abyss. Under the weight of this trauma, former pastors and family members transform into calculating cosmic villains who orchestrated every moment of abuse with deliberate intent. The perspective shifts when you look past the supernatural framing and see a more primitive mechanism at work, the operating system of human fear. Evicting this conditioned guilt permanently depends on decoding exactly how fear hacks a human mind. The way institutional fear operates is often visible in the corporate world. Recently, a woman named Ebony received multiple job offers, only to have them illegally revoked the moment she disclosed her multiple sclerosis diagnosis. The managers weren't following a master plan of malice. They were uneducated about her condition and allowed a sudden, reflexive panic to dictate their actions. High-control religious systems experience a similar breakdown when faced with doubt. When a leader's authority is questioned, the institutional survival instinct overrides empathy. These leaders act as biological machines programmed for self-preservation, reacting to theological questions with the same primitive alarm as those corporate managers. Emanuel Swedenborg, an 18th-century scientist and theologian, spent decades mapping the mechanics of this fear.
He argued that compliance forced through pressure or the threat of damnation holds zero spiritual value, as coercion effectively shuttered the capacity for human reason. Because God prioritizes the preservation of human choice, a system that relies on fear for its power operates entirely outside the boundaries of divine reality. If the system was spiritually hollow, the question remains, why does the body continue to trigger intense guilt long after the exit? Swedenborg identified this phenomenon as the spurious conscience, a psychological structure built on mistaken religious rules. This structure forms when internal wiring is bound to rigid human dogmas, creating a ghost of behavioral conditioning that haunts the nervous system. The panic that follows deconstruction is a biological echo, a glitch in the machine rather than a message from the divine. Swedenborg categorized manipulative leaders as upside-down people, individuals driven by self-focus in their inner minds, while behaving like holy clowns in the public square. Humanizing these threats strips away the supernatural aura. These aren't cosmic monsters. They are clumsy, frightened humans trapped in their own survival loops. The engine driving most evangelical anxiety is a single doctrine, penal substitutionary atonement. It presents the ultimate reality of the universe as a volatile, angry judge who can only be appeased through a violent blood sacrifice. Swedenborg labeled this transactional view a fundamental error. He argued that attributing such wrath to God was a disgrace to the divine essence of absolute love. He reframed the cross as a process of divine alignment and victory, an act that restored order to a fractured spiritual landscape, rather than satisfying a legal demand for blood. In this reality, God is an unchanging divine love with zero capacity for anger, reaching out to meet people exactly where they are. Recognizing the monsters as scared, ignorant human beings removes the supernatural power from past religious trauma. The rule of missing data lets you look past doctrinal buzzwords like sin or heresy and address the human fear driving the people you left behind. When the old guilt triggers, it can be objectively identified as a structural error of the spurious conscience and consciously dismissed. Stepping away from the system is a reclamation of autonomy, creating the environment where genuine spiritual growth can finally begin.